right? We saw the ascending triangle in here. And this one was really, really bad. I mean, you can see how that volatility just died, right? It just died. And then there you go. So, yeah, it's probably time to start looking for longs because we're approaching in here, but yeah, it's actually looking pretty good now. So we have one, two, three, four, five, right? We have a three-wave pullback. It's proportional with this A, this C. So this wave and this wave are proportional, right? So let's put the line there. And then let's take that line and put it right there. And look at that. It went exactly, literally exactly where it should have gone, right? So the low could be in. The bottom could be in. But I would imagine you would need to play around a little bit. You can see what happened over here. You know, you had a big move down, you came up, but then you revisited the low. Same thing here. You moved down, you came up, but you kind of revisited the low. Question is, do people want to wait for that? It's the same thing right here, right? You have this big move down, you come up, but what happens? A lot of times you can come down and revisit the low, right? So, but what I was saying before, right? What I was saying before, it, leading into this was the reason, you kind of want to wait is because what if this turns into something more complex, right? And that's always the risk. For example, we have three waves down. What if then we got three waves back up? And then obviously from there you would get three waves back down. And then what that would do, right, is it would be a kind of like a WXY, right? Or if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that could be an ABC, whatever, right? But the point is the wave being more complex, creating a base, literally a base, right? So you have a base right here, right? You build, you build, you build, you break out, and then you build another base on top of it. So we've seen that with Bitcoin, we've seen that with XRP, and then you continue higher. So you basically have a double base, right? And if you look, that's exactly what happened with XRP. You had a base, you broke out, and then this became more complex. You had a complex B. It became a very complex wave, but it resulted in a base on top, or a base on bottom, and then a base on top, right? So that's exactly what kind of SHIB looks like. And then even back in the day with Bitcoin, right? You had a base right here, right? You built another base on top. You actually built kind of another one, right? And then you built these bases, and then it led into a parabolic move. Kind of right here too. You have a little bit of a base, and then you build that base here. This is probably the best example because of the shape. It's literally kind of the same shape as SHIB. You kind of had this little inverse head and shoulders for box one. You break out A, B, C, box two, it's a flat, right? And then continue. So go back to SHIB real quick. And also, we were talking about this, but you can also look at SHIB. You building a base, right, on top, and look what you're doing. You're building another base on top of it, right? That's interesting. Very interesting on that time frame, but I wasn't even referencing that time frame. I was talking about this time frame over here, right? So you have potentially, right? This is not financial advice. I could be wrong, but I'm just explaining ideas here. So you have your inverse head and shoulders like Bitcoin, right? If this is three down, then you get three up, then you get three back down. That could develop something else, right? You're basically creating support. You're layering in support on top of your base on top of your support, and that is just added support, right? So, yeah, it's definitely it's definitely proportional. Let's take a trend-based fib extension here, and let's look at. So we're not even at the 1-to-1 yet. I would probably wait for that, but then you get kind of close here. You get really close to this level here. So, not sure how the weekend's gonna play out, but let's zoom in a little bit here. So it's actually looking really good right now. I wish I would have went long when I woke up, or earlier today. I wish I would have went long there. So just didn't see the chart. But yeah, it looks like a 5-wave move. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you have divergence? Yeah, you do. You have divergence. Is it at least on the 1 hour? It is. It is on the 1 hour. Look at that. You have bullish divergence on the 1 hour chart. So, all right. Let's look at dog, because this is the one I shorted. If I can find it. By the way, look at all the things. Look at Polygon down 4%, ADA down 2%. Right, look at Bitcoin, not even down 1%. You can see HBAR down 5%, Link down 5%, Trump down 5%, Litecoin down 5%, right? XRP down 2%, Shib down 5.5%, THETA down 6.5%. But which one did I short? I shorted dog, and what is dog? 14%. That is a winner in my book. I picked the right one to short. Beautiful short. Right, we recognize that coming up in here. Look at that. This was all corrective, and it was just like volatility slowing down. I recognized that. I pulled the short. Bam, lights out. So that was pretty cool. That was I didn't make a lot of money, but it wasn't too bad. Look, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waves. That's plenty of waves. Actually, it's 5, but you're counting the sub waves. But if the subwaves are prominent enough for you to even count them, then it's really time to probably look for a pullback. And that's exactly what we expected for Bitcoin, was to pull back. And since dog is a Bitcoin meme coin, it made sense. That's why I think dog performed so well. Look how beautiful that is. That's a massive move right there. Right? I mean, you went from rock bottom lows all the way back up to near all-time highs within just a matter of a couple weeks. So that's interesting. You came right into the retrace levels. So this is why did I short it? Right? And why do I explain it like that? Because this is all, trying to understand how to actually trade for a living, because that's what I do. I don't work, I trade, right? So number one, we went all the way up to the 702, 786. That's red flag number one. Red flag number two, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 waves. Red flag number 3, it was extremely impulsive. Red flag number 4, Bitcoin is in the same basket. Red flag number 5, you saw XRP, THETA, ADA, Matic, Ethereum. I mean, not Ethereum, but a lot of them having that low volatility situation right in here. And what I'm referring to is this right here, right? You see that descending triangle? So that was another reason, another red flag. Hey, dog might be ready to top. So what was another? I mean, so it's all about adding as many things as you can add to have the confluence, to have the confidence of what it is. But am I going to hold this short forever? No, I might even get rid of it soon, and it might be a bad thing, right? Because I don't know how big this is going to be. Now, we have to understand the trend is going up. So we have to recognize that, right? The trend is going up. But we also recognize the fact that we need a correction. let's look at Bitcoin for a minute. See, Bitcoin is in the same situation, right? You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You basically went all the way up from the low to a new all-time high, you know. So it just, and then couple that with the altcoins needing to chill out. So that's exactly why we've been talking about this for actually maybe the last couple of weeks, anticipating, expecting a correction, right? And you can say, well, the altcoins have been correcting. Well, that's true, but they're not finished because Bitcoin had, it took a little while for Bitcoin. At first, I thought Bitcoin was going to correct here. Then we shot the high. Then I thought, okay, well, this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we can correct here. So it's going to be between here or here. And look, it was right in the middle, kind of. So, but now, here's the big thing, though. The problem, can you see what the problem is? The problem is that let me get my arrow. I think that's better. The problem is that this three-wave correction, A, B, C, is in the same degree, is in the same size as this correction, as this correction, as this correction. So if you notice, that little thing, that little thing, that little thing, they're all the same. They're all in the same degree. So that's why I'm kind of like, well, maybe this right here has to be more complex, right? Where you have 3 down, and then you get 3 up, and then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and it becomes a real ABC proportional to this wave, right? So 1, and it still looks kind of small, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if it became even more complex than that, something much bigger, right? Because if I take a trend-based time extension and I take it from the bottom of this wave all the way to the very top of the wave, and then I click it, and then I double click it, and then I messed it up, there we go, and you can see where we are. So typically you want the wave 2 to end around the 50 to 618 to 786. So basically if I take this and this, and let's put one more right there, and we'll put one more for the hell of it right there. All right, and then I'll take this, I'll get rid of it. Okay, so those lines are the area of where we should reverse, based, not according to me, right? Based on the Fibonacci time sequence, right? So if this is a wave 1, which for sure it looks like one, then we need a wave 2. And a wave 2 could be flagging out into, mid-June to late June. Right, so that's a long time. Basically, the month, because tomorrow will be the last day of the month, right? And then a new month starts. So a lot of things are happening. A lot of order blocks are happening, because you have the daily coming in, you have the weekly coming in, you have the monthly coming in, all around the same time, which is going to be this weekend, right? So does that give us a continuation, or does that give us a continuation for corrections? I don't think this is the end of the correction. I think this is, let's go down to the 4-hour chart. So here's the 4-hour chart. I mean, you can see we have a very clear 3-wave move down. So it's not about going up or going down. We're most likely going to go sideways. We're most likely going to correct. So we have 3 waves down. Right, we got 3 waves down. So you'd probably expect maybe a little bit more down. Maybe we develop a base, but then you get 3 waves up. Right, you get a retrace. Everybody gets bullish again, right? And you would probably want to be long down here, because if this comes up and then we continue accelerating, right? Then you could say, well, wait a minute. Why would we go up and accelerate if this wave is too small? It didn't even get over here. Because what if the alternative idea is that this is an A, B, C? It's a flat. It's a running flat. And those are hard to recognize, right? But that is a three-wave shape. It's a flat. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth ended here. So there's your wave 1. A, B, C. There's your wave 2. And then we continue up from there. That, if we start blasting off next week, then this is the count. If not, then the fifth ended here and it's going to be a bigger correction. So it kind of looks like a flat because you kind of have, this three-wave move here. It looks three-wave-ish, Where's 5? I don't have 5. I have, you could say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's it. I don't have 5, Or you could say 1, 2, there's no 5. So if this is 3, we have 3 down and 3 up and 3 back down, it could be done. We could be going 120K next week if this is the idea. And it could be because if this was a 5-wave move, then I would say the fifth ended here, but it doesn't seem like it. But then you say, well, then why are you treating it that way? Well, because you have to treat things more conservatively. So you always want to be the pessimist. You always want to be pessimistic about the price. You don't want to be all hyped up and like, yeah, let's go. And, it's going to break out next week. And, oh, it's for sure going to happen, because expectations lead to resentment. And you don't want to resent something you have no control over. Right? That's a really good piece of advice for life in general. So how do we tackle this? How do we win? How do we come out the other side and we win? Well, that is going to be tomorrow's video, the last day of the month for our members video, right? I do 2 member videos a month. It's a couple bucks a month. Try it out. If you don't like it, just, you don't have to use it, but at least try it and see if it's something that's beneficial to in addition to your trading. Because I already do a lot of information on the free videos, so you're already getting plenty. But the members is just an added extra thing. And then also, at some point at the end of the bull cycle, I'm going to be giving away some crypto. And it was supposed to be Shib, but I cut the trade. But I will get back into something. It could be anything. It could be ADA. It could be XRP. I don't know yet. It probably will be Shib again. But based on the win of that trade, it could be anywhere, from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000. I mean, it depends how big the trade is, right? And I'm not trying to do a little trade. I'm trying to do a massive trade, because when we look at something like, let's just take H bar, for example. When we look at something like this, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm expecting some big moves coming soon, right? Maybe a little bit later. Or when I take a look at like XRP or Shib, right? I mean, especially Shib. I mean, Shib, I'm telling you, it looks phenomenal. Like, this chart looks like it is super primed. Like, it just looks like it's gonna, because Shib didn't go on a crazy bull run like Doge did, or it didn't go on a crazy bull run like Pepe, right? Pepe it doesn't have the structure, right, that Shib has. Shib, and the reason why nobody maybe likes it is because we're just going sideways. But that's exactly what you want. That's what you want. That's why XRP, remember when XRP exploded when Trump got elected, and everybody was trying to figure out, why did it go up so high? Because it went sideways for so long. And that's what Shib is. And then also, look at this 3-way pullback here. So I'm going to get back in, and the idea is to hold the leverage trade as long as possible, and get as much profit as possible. And you shouldn't trade like this, by the way. I'm doing it for channel purposes. I'm doing it to, for fun, right? For engagement. I want people, I want to give something away, right? So I just don't know how that's going to play out, but definitely stick around. And what I'm saying is you have to be a member in order to be included in the potential winning. Because I'm going to pick a member at random, and whoever wins, is going to walk away with, I would imagine, a good chunk of change. So we'll see how it all plays out. It could be zero. It could be nothing. I could lose, right? I don't know. I doubt it, though. So, yeah, that's kind of what's going on. So if you want to figure out my strategy, definitely check out the members video tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. It could be either Saturday or Sunday. All right, it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure. But other than that, it's pretty much over. Let's take a look at Theta real quick. Just one more time, get a better look at it here. And it also could be Theta too. I don't know what the trade will be, but whatever it is, I will cash out in Tether and just give me your Tether address. And then there you go. So, yeah, so the idea here is to get in a trade, okay? And for me to hold the trade as long as I can before I exit, right? And I don't really want to do it I want to do it on a chart that I have high confidence that it's going to break into a new all-time high. It has to be a new all-time high trade, right? And you could say, and I don't think Theta is going to go for a new all-time high this cycle, because the all-time high was $15 and it's only at 76 cents. So it's got a long way to go. But that's why I'm thinking for Theta on the big time frames, right? I'm still expecting a big move, and that could be a 10x move right there, right? Whereas, something like Shib can break out and go to a new all-time high, and it could be literally the same percentage. So, because we have 3 up, we have 3 down. I'm expecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. And I'm expecting this to be a big 3. But I don't think it would have enough gas to break out, maybe flag out and to break out to new all-time high. Sometimes what happens is it has to come down, and then it has to go sideways, and then it can break out. So boom, 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 boom. So rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So it could be a little while. Whereas Shib, it already did that. It already had the rise, it had the crash, it had the retrace, right? It had a 3-wave pullback into reaccumulation. It's super primed. Now you could say, well, Theta is too, but when I overlay Theta on here, that's the wrong thing. When I put Theta on, and you could, it just didn't have the same retrace as Shib did, right? It had that same 3-wave move. It had the same 3-wave move down, and it had the base, and it has that same type of structure. But I'm just not. I just like Shib a little bit better, as far as, because it's more scrunched in, it's more tight. See, this range from here to here is so far away, right? What is the percentage of that? So let's just take a look, right? That is 2,000%. Just to get back to the all-time high. Just to get back to the all-time high, you're looking at a 20x. That's insane. All right, and I believe for sure it will happen at some point. Now we go back to Shib, right? And you could say, well, if Shib is a smaller number, then that's not as good. You have more percentage potential with theta, and that is true to some aspect. But to get back to the all-time high, you're looking at a 500% move. You're looking at a 5x or 6x versus a 20x. Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. And you can, the reason why is because it's so tight. It's very tight. It's scrunched in, and that's why I think it's going to be a good chart when it breaks out, because it's a really tight range. If I go from the bottom, from C19 all the way to the top, I mean, you're only looking at a 1400% move. That's all Shib did, right? So it could play to a disadvantage because it's, it never had a big breakout move, unless you're just looking at this one. But the bear market took it all back. So it's like it's at ground zero. And here's ground zero, and here's the price, and you're literally a hop, skip, and a jump away from ground zero. Whereas Dogecoin, you're multiples and multiples and multiples away from ground zero, or Pepe, or whatever, right? So that's another reason why. But anyway, the idea here is, if I get in a trade, right, and let's say I'll be conservative, and let's say we hit the, I don't know, 1618 up to the 2618. All right, that's a pretty good move there, and we hit the, that's about a 10x all the way up to maybe a 25x, right? So yeah, that would be that would be the idea, is to get in a trade, hold it from there, and then give it away to one lucky member, to a percentage of that win. So, yeah, I had to cut the trade because I just felt like I had to. I mean, and I'm glad I did, because it basically took out my line. Well, let's take a look. If we go to Shib, because we have to look at Shib 1000 because we're trading futures. If we look at this, okay, let's see. So my profit was 7,000, which is a lot, because I did a big trade because I was trying to hit a grand slam. But again, when you pull back, do you really want to lose 7,000? Maybe it'll come back up, because the idea is, obviously we're really bullish and we're going to go up higher, but do you really want to eat that? I probably could have ate it, and I could have went maybe negative a couple thousand, right? And then swing it back up. But it's just like, I'd rather just get another entry. So my entry was 13,021. So right now I would still technically be in profit. So 13,000, but then you got fees and stuff, so it's kind of a lot, but right there. So look at that. It would have came literally, I would have gotten stopped out. So 13,028, let me put it down to 13,021 to be exact, but it's, I'll just put it right there. It's good enough. So you could see that was my entry, and I was $7,000 in profit right here. If I would have came all the way down and held that, I would have basically lost $7,000. So I had to do what I had to do. I had to cut it, and I'm glad I cut it before that happened. But don't worry, I'm going to get back in, and we're going to try this again. And I don't know if it's going to be as big as it was before, because a lot of luck has to play into it. Well, when you go really heavy on a falling knife, well, let's see, if I pull this right up here, I actually went really heavy. I think it was right here or right here. No, it had to be right there. And bam. But if I was 7,000 here, dude, I was like 20,000 up here. So I did lose a lot of money on that trade. If I would have just got out, I probably should have. But that's the problem when you shouldn't do that. I'm only doing this for engagement, but when you trade with so much money, you're too emotionally involved, and it screws up your psychology. So that's why it's best to just, let's say you have $1,000 in a trading account. You only want to risk, like 2% of that, which is not a lot of money. But that's the problem. People want to swing for the fence, But it's okay to do it unless you have a complete, a lot of confluence in everything, right? So, anyways, if I'm looking to get back in, I wish I would have taken a little stab at it, but I want to see how this develops down here, because again, it's kind of looking like, let's go to Bitcoin real quick. Now check this out. If we go over here and let's tone it down to the daily, right? So here was your descending triangle, right? Same thing over here. And one moment, and you can see, right? Yeah, that little area, boom, boom. You came down, you dropped down hard, and then what happens is you pull back up, and then you hit the low, and then you hit the low, right? And then it kind of comes back up, and then it flags out. So let's see if it comes back up, and then it flags out. If we get that, then that could be some confluence. Otherwise, this could be continuing to bleed here. So, for dog, again, I went short. I'm still holding the trade. I got in at 51.09. Right now it's 43.02. Let's take a look real quick. And again, I don't always show the trades, but I like to do it from time to time as a learning experience to learn, why did I do that? Why did I take profit? Why did I get in there? Why did I, and it helps. It really helps a lot. So real quickly here. So again, real quick. So I got in at 51.09. So that's right basically there. So let me put this 51.09 right there. So that's where I got in, and you can see that was, you could see a little bit of descending triangle here. You saw a three-wave move. Volatility was slowing down. You saw we were cupping down into the resistance. I pulled the trigger. I said, let's go. I got rid of all my longs. I closed out my SHIB, everything before this drop, right? And that's the idea. You want, especially if you're doing it for a living. Now, for most people, you are buying spot position on Coinbase, Uphold, and Exchange, and you're hodling it. That is different, okay? When you're buying spot, you just want to buy, right? Never sell, especially thinking, oh, I'm going to drop down 10%, I'm going to sell. No, you're going to get killed in fees. You're best just holding it. So what I have to figure out is, when do I cut my short, right? When do I cut my short? Well, I'd like to see it get down and retest this area. I don't know if it's going to do it, but I would imagine it will. It's probably going to pop up here a little bit and then maybe drag down over the weekend and then kind of, go up from there. So I'm curious to see. I mean, we have a three-wave move, right? Do we get three up and then three back down, right? If we get the three, I'm expecting a three-wave move back up soon, right? Once we get down here, I'm expecting a three-wave move back up, and I don't want to be holding my short during that time. I want to be long, so I'll probably flip long. Once we get back into the retrace levels, it's going to be sketchy. You kind of want to stay in your long with the expectation, but chances are you're probably going to have to pull back. So flip it short, then flip it long again. But, most people don't. You got to go back and forth, That's why it's just best for a hodler to stay long in the overall position. So, but anyways, that should do it for this video. Stay tuned. I'm going to explain when we get to Bitcoin here, what I would do in this situation here. Because, and there's no right or wrong answer. It's just about, what makes sense at the time, right? Because the big question is Bitcoin finished? Is this the fifth wave? Is this the fifth wave? Right? It could be. This could be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that's over. What if it's over? And we don't, and we flag out, because the expectation is we flag out and we break out, and then it's over. Right? But if this has to come down deep, and then we go sideways for some time until we get to the end of the year, and then that's when we get that big move up, and then that is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. If this happens, it would be much more bullish than it just flagging out and then reaching up. And this idea would actually give the alt a lot more time, so we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, I wish I didn't have to get rid of my trade, but I didn't want to eat that cost. So but other than that, let me look at XRP real quick, and then Theta really quick, and then we'll wrap it. So yeah, I like the little dojis there. The thing is I wouldn't expect too much downside, okay? Because you have a lot of support, and you got all of this support in here. You got basically this zone of this cluster right in here, right? And you have a three-wave shape, and you're kind of oversold on the smaller time frames. Let's see, I didn't look at the RSI. Yeah, see, we went oversold on the 2-hour. So it makes, maybe you got a little bit more down to go. But whatever the case is, I wouldn't, let's just put it this way. I wouldn't go short today. I wouldn't short it. I would just probably wait till Sunday, see what the weekly close. By the way, I almost forgot, the monthly candle is about to end. Let's take a look. It looks terrible. That's a terrible looking candle, to be honest. I don't like it at all. I love this candle. This candle's beautiful. This candle, it's one of those candles. It's a hanging man candle. It's like this candle here, right? Where you have a big wick. It's still green, but don't let it fool you. It could still have a big breakout, So that's not a sexy candle. And in Thetas, it's the same kind of candle. Same kind of candle. Came up, came back down. It's not the greatest looking monthly candle, but at the same time, it's not too bad. At least it's a doji. You can see we're going down, 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 right? And then we dojied out, so that's actually a good thing, right? So the weekly's coming up. The weekly looks fine. You have a bullish engulfing candle. You kind of have this little flag in here. You developed a base, so it could easily continue. Monthly looks good. The weekly looks good. The monthly, same kind of deal, right? You're kind of dojiing out at the bottom here. So, not too bad at all. Bitcoin monthly candle looks phenomenal. It looks beautiful. It's going to be the highest monthly Bitcoin candle in the history of Bitcoin candles. All right, we're about to see that soon. All Bitcoin has to do is literally close above 102 by Sunday, and it'll be the highest monthly candle in history. So, and sentiment is in the gutter, right? So that's it's kind of interesting how that plays out. The weekly chart, it's a bearish engulfing candle. It looks like, again, these three lines, I wouldn't get extremely bullish until we get to those three lines, because those three lines will allow the time to pass, right? Because this is a big wave. You got this big wave. You need it to flag out a little bit in order to continue that move. Otherwise, it could be over. This move could be over, right? The fifth wave could be N, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's over. And then this, you know, turns into some kind of reaccumulation and we continue higher, right? So it'd be like a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. But the retrace is kind of interesting because it's a fifth wave. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. But the first thing is just let's get to those lines, because there's really nothing on the smaller time frames quite yet. I mean, I'm still kind of expecting some downside in here. I want to see things level out, right? I want to see it level out a little bit. But other than that, I mean, Link looks pretty good. You know, it's got that three-wave shape. You got 3 down, you got 3 up, you got 3 down. You have 5 in the third, it looks like. Yeah, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it could be finished. It could be, you know, it could be around that finishing area. If we zoom in a lot, Jesus, you can see this 5-minute chart is still pumping up here. So, dang it, I wish I really would have capitalized on that. That would have been a beautiful spot too. But again, there's no confirmation. So, you know, I'd just be essentially trying to catch a falling knife. But look at theta. You know, you have a big drop. So well, first of all, you have a big drop right here, right? And then you kind of go sideways and then you finish the drop, right? You have a bigger bounce, but it's still not complete yet. So, but yeah, we're kind of trending up a little bit. You kind of got a 5-wave move. I don't want it to go up too much, because what happens is when it fires up too much, then, you know, makes it very hard to get in. So hopefully it'll stay down in the dumps for a while. But anyway, this is a productive. I think it was really good. So hopefully, if you know, you watched my previous video, you were cautious right in here, and yeah, it played out very nicely. So it's a really good thing not holding along as you go down. You know. So, but anyway, look for the members video. I will catch you guys on the next one. If you can hit the like, subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you think, and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.